Hang on, we're plugging in.
For a quick second, I swear I was on the camera. Did you see that?
No, I wasn't looking.
And it's just not going to fit in there, is it? Okay.
Not sure you have a USB port over here, do you?
Oh, I know. Let's do that.
We have this one, but
There's the carpet there in front of you, see the top.
there we go.
And that's for my mouse.
Yay.
Okay.
Going the right direction. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, you ready? All right. Let's do this. So, I'd like to call a meeting to order. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Sue McNamara,
I'm here.
Brock McDonald,
Here.
Andrew Lowe,
Here.
Jeff Schweig,
Here.
Lynn Midget,
Here.
and Nora Schiller. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Awesome. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, I have one request, and that is,
I would like to make a motion.
I appreciate that.
I'd like to move that we change the agenda order under new business so that the ARPA resolutions for Forest Hills Ridge and Clarkson Mill Circle are moved forward for discussion vote before the building permit fee schedule and liquor license fee schedule agenda items. So we move C and D to A and B and A and B to C and D.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, and there will be, one other thing, there will be no closed meeting. So, okay, I need a motion and a second we'll read the minutes, or unless waived, so if no one needs them read, I'd like a motion and a second to waive the reading and accept the minutes as posted.
I move that we approve the minutes without reading.
Second?
Second.
Vote? Voice vote?
Aye.
Aye.
That's moved, seconded, and approved, so they are waived. Does anyone have any?
Approve them?
Pardon me?
A motion to approve them?
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a motion to approve them. Sorry.
I thought she
I
did a
thought-
combo.
I
think that's what you did.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And these
Okay.
guys all seconded, so I'm
Okay,
like, did I?
okay, no,
Okay.
then that was me, I missed that.
Nope.
Sorry.
Yay. Okay, so, done that, minutes. Remarks, petitions, and complaints. Does anyone have, anyone in the audience? Hi, Brad. Wish to make any comments, voice any concerns or complaints? I would take that as a resounding no. Okay, we do have to have a public hearing, hold a public hearing at 7 p.m., but we are obviously not there. We obviously have some things to do before 7 p.m., so we'll go ahead and move along. At what point do I want to talk about why Brad's here? Down the list?
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be the best thing.
Okay.
right?
Officer Conley, I believe it's your turn to make a police report.
Thank you, Mayor. For the month of December, we had 133 radio assignments and self-initiated assignments by the officers. We had 4 incidents that required police reports. We had 9 burglar alarms that occurred throughout the month, all were false alarms. We had 4 open doors that were found by the police officers while they were making their rounds. And just so you know, what happens when we find an open door on a residence or a business is we actually enter and do a sweep of the business and everything, and we contact the emergency contact and have them respond if somebody's on vacation. We make sure they're notified, and, so they don't come back and go, looks like somebody was in our house, but we leave a card in there for them. So anytime you see that we found an open door, that's the procedure that happens. We found 8 open garage door notifications, and with those, we just leave the notification in the mailbox, asking them to close those garage doors. We had several motor vehicle accidents this month. We had a minor leaving the scene right out here in the parking lot. The officer did an investigation, was able to locate the other driver who left the scene. They exchanged information, insurance information, it was very minor. Had a 3-car motor vehicle accident on Clarkson at Keddington. There was a car that was pulling a trailer, and it slowed abruptly to make a right turn into Keddington, and it made that turn unscathed, but the 3 cars behind them ended up colliding. They couldn't come to a stop fast enough, and they struck each other. Had another 2-car accident on Curves Mill west of Clarkson turning into Marquette. That was another rear ender that was relatively minor. And we had a motor vehicle accident at number 2 Curves Mill Glen Court, where the driver lost control of the car, ran off the road several times, went through some grass lawns, and ended up crossing Curves Mill and hitting a tree. And that person was injured, but the person was also found to be intoxicated and was taken into custody for DWI. And then we had another motor vehicle accident that was minor on Clarkson north of Clayton. The same thing you've heard several times. People were driving down Clarkson heading towards Clayton, and a person that stopped in traffic was going to make a right turn here into City Hall here, and somebody was on the shoulder, driving up and plowed right into them as they made their right turn. And that person received a citation. We had 32 moving violations that were issued by the officers this month, 3 non-moving violations, 40 warnings, for a total of 75 traffic enforcements. We had 1 felony arrest and 2 misdemeanor arrests, all were related to the traffic enforcement and the DWIs. As I said before, we had a DWI that was associated with the Curves Mill Glen call. And then we had another one that was a traffic stop. It was separate from the motor vehicle accidents. It was just a traffic stop. But we found that that person was intoxicated as well, and they were taken into custody. Had a weed fire up at 1959 Curves Mill. Looks like it was some kind of firecrackers or fireworks that were thrown from the vehicle, caught some leaves on fire. And the officers used their fire extinguishers to extinguish those flames. But they did have the fire department come out and spray it down just for safekeeping. And we executed a mental health warrant on Kerrsdale. This is a family that's having difficulty with one of their family members. It's a repeat concern. And I don't know how familiar you are with mental health, but there's no one pill that you can take. And a lot of times it turns out to be several different episodes. And this was another one where we had conveyed the person to the proper facility for treatment. And we didn't have anything outstanding that occurred at Marquette or Crestview this month. I did want to mention, this is kind of an administrative thing. Since we started, the SROs that are employed by Rockwood, there are officers that are employed by Rockwood, and there's an officer every day at Marquette, and there's an officer every day at Crestview. They've been reassigned, even though they're going to be in my bureau still. They've been reassigned to one of the sergeants, so they'll be responding directly to Sergeant Powell. And again, that's just an administrative thing, but I just wanted to let you know. And lastly, I just wanted to let you know that on Thursday of this week, we're going to be holding a reception for Chief Johnson as just prior to his retirement. It's going to start at 3 o'clock and go to 5 o'clock at Chesterfield City Hall. There'll be finger food, light refreshments, things like that. So if there's any interest in coming up and greeting him before he retires, that would be the time to do it. Again, Thursday from 3 until 5 at City Hall in Chesterfield. And then Friday is the actual retirement date, and that's when Captain Cheryl Funkhouse will be sworn in as the second chief of police in Chesterfield. So that's also at 3 o'clock on Friday. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you. A lot of stuff. Okay, my update, I got a whole list of stuff. With Andrew's assistance, we worked on successfully acquiring an iPad for our new building inspector or building commissioner. It has already been in use and has proved to be invaluable. It has limited his necessity to come into the office to do emails or turn in paperwork, so it's been very effective. Michelle, Brad, and I have been working on the building permit fee structure. We'll get to this in new business in a couple minutes. Michelle, Andrea, and I, who is still out on sick leave, and our prayers are with her, but she seems to be doing fairly well as can be expected. We worked on the liquor license fee structure, and we consulted with a number of other cities and clubs to see what they charge their clubs, so we can arrive at a comparable fee, so that we will increase this within the next month or two. Currently, we're charging the club about $75 a year, and other clubs and other municipalities charge anywhere from $750 to $1,000 a year. So we are way low. We worked on safety enhancements. Michelle and I have continued to look at safety enhancements for City Hall, including the security and lock issues. We also looked at some space downstairs in the basement, along with Brad, to see what storage opportunities might be there for some of our excess boxes, and et cetera, that we currently have in the side office. And I would like to see if I can get in touch with the building management group to see if there's some possibility that we could utilize the office space that is immediately adjacent to the hall in front of our back office, so we could utilize that space as well. So I have not been able to get in touch with the gentleman Michelle just mentioned, Steve Graham, is it Graham?
Correct.
Yeah. We've talked to Tom Lathrop, who is the building manager, but he's not very responsive, so we're working on that. We are looking at hiring a full-time person for to step into Michelle's shoes at some point. Time TBD, but we recognize that it's going to take a while for this person to become cognizant and proficient at doing all the things she does. And with the knowledge that Andrea is out for a while and no one really knows how long, we'd like to get that going. So to that end, Lynn and Greg have agreed to help come up with some of the criteria, work on the committee to come up with the criteria that we'll need to attract a good, viable candidate for this position in a full-time capacity. And so that includes considering salaries, benefits, including insurance, vacation, et cetera, for retirements, whatever. We've never really done much of that, so this is going to be new territory for us. And this is going to be something that, we're looking at maybe a deputy assistant or deputy city clerk, so that they can fulfill her responsibilities as she does currently, and then learn all they need to know about being a city administrator. I attended the West Hampton MSD webinar, which was interesting. That was a discussion about what MSD is going to do in the West Hampton area. Hopefully that will go smoothly. And I attended the Lafayette Area Mayor's Organization meeting in Pacific, which is really a neat facility, neat venue. It is immediately adjacent to Old Highway 66, and they have done an absolutely fabulous job of displaying all the artifacts and everything to do with Route 66. And they mentioned that they have a big map, world map, and on the map are all these colored pins of people who have visited this facility and have actually driven old Interstate 64. And it speaks very well of not only what they've done, but how many people are still attracted by this. And then ironically, the other day on KMOX, someone came on and was talking about the same thing, and they reiterated the same information. So if you get a chance, what is the name of that? It's Eagle something?
Museum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Museum in Pacific. It's really neat. They've done a very nice job with it. It's an old bar that they refurbished, and they have food and I suppose adult beverages, but this was a neat meeting. Deer bow hunting season ends in a week or so. This year our harvest is down a bit. We got 14 deer, we took 11 does and 3 bucks. So obviously the ladies are more productive in terms of limiting the herd because 1 buck can impregnate any number of does, but does can only carry 1 litter, one pregnancy a year, so that's the goal. I'm still planning to do a coffee or wine with the mayor, and I'm looking at the end of February. If anybody has any preferences, I would like to know if you guys, I would very much like for all of you to be present if possible. If you have any preferences, please let me know time-wise. I'm thinking maybe a Thursday night, or we could do a Sunday afternoon, whatever you guys feel would be best. So please let me know your thoughts. We also looked into investigating whether it's more cost-effective to lease a copier or to buy one outright, because we have an annual service charge on it, and they pretty much both work out to be the same. So right now the status is that we're leasing the copier, and until such time as we need to make a change, we'll just leave that as is. We looked closely at investigating what software other cities use to track their building permits and codes, code enforcement. We thought it was a great idea. It is, but the cost is prohibitive given the size of our city and the number of permits that we issue each year. So we feel that we're still in a pretty good position to be able to track that, especially with Brad's help. So I think we're gonna just leave things the way they are. I attended the planning and zoning meeting that was held on Thursday that had to do with our recodification efforts, and I'm gonna ask Honora about that shortly. Lynn and Greg have also agreed to help me get started on reviewing and constructing the budget for next year. That will have to be in effect as of 1 July. This last year, we were sort of delinquent in getting that in place due to the election and the changeover from Scott to myself and everybody else. So I want to get an earlier start on that so that by the middle of June, we're ready to pull that trigger. Like I said, I've been busy. Lynn and Greg are gonna help me with the assessment for full-time employee and benefits. I've continued to work on the logo for the city. I just met with Emily yesterday, and Jeff has agreed to help me with seeking vendors and bids for doing the applications as necessary. I do not have any new logos to show you at this time or modifications to the ones that we showed last time because of the holiday. School was out, we were gone, so that will come about next time. And I have the 3 that we identified as seeming to be the most popular. So we'll work on those, and then in February I'll be able to show you what we've got. And they're going to present layouts with the logo as it would appear on business cards, stationery, signage that includes our big major welcome signs as you come into the city, as well as the little round stickers that are on the actual street signs. And I'd like to get a layout for what it would look like as it's applied to a polo shirt. And that's something that I would like to do for you guys. I think it is a nice touch for us to walk into meetings and demonstrate the same degree of pride and visibility that I've seen at other meetings with other townships. Okay, we monitored the repairs. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the guardrail there in front of the lake, the retention pond in front of Marquette, has been trashed for months. So we kind of lit a fire under the folks, and I think that was State Department of Transportation, wasn't it?
No, they wouldn't do the guardrail.
Oh,
It was all
that's right.
on
It's all in Marquette.
Marquette, but
Okay.
there was a police report taken.
Okay.
So hopefully they had insurance to go back to.
Okay, good. So that's moving along. It's been repaired. It looks fine. We've looked at several IT quotes. I know Jeff is, sorry, Jeff, didn't mean to blame you.
Okay, no, thank you.
Andrew is still exploring that, so hopefully we'll be able to make some announcements here shortly. And we discussed aldermanic and mayoral elected official pay increases. And we've been kind of juggling that over the last week or two. So that's my list. So I'd like to ask the rest of you if you have any reports to make. Honora, you want to?
No, I don't have anything. I did attend planning and zoning, and there really wasn't that much of discussion.
Okay, and Lynn, do you have anything?
The only thing I want to mention, I'm still working on the cyber insurance quotes. Should have the third one any day now. And by next meeting, we should have a package for everybody to review and see if that's what we want to do. Same thing with professional liability insurance. We're close
Okay.
on that.
Cool. Okay. Jeff, do you have anything?
I do not.
Andrew?
Just in regards to getting an IT management company, so I have one quote in my hands, buttoned up. They're waiting to come address us
Okay.
at a future meeting. I'm expecting one more,
Okay.
and so I think those two are going to be the ones that we're going to have to evaluate as a technology committee. I'm not expecting any more at that point. At this point, I was hoping to have a few more than that, but you know, we have small needs compared to most small
Somebody
businesses
who's
in
more-
other municipalities. So it is what it is. In addition to that, since we are now into 2024, we've received a extension on the management of the website for the time being. They know we are looking, they know we are trying to decide on a new service provider, and they are also in contention. They're the ones I'm still expecting a quote from. So they didn't have a problem extending, knowing that, you know, there was a chance for their level of business to increase.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you.
that's it.
Just a question for you. Weren't they shutting down that side of the house? Isn't that why they were dropping us? Or what's going on?
It was just more the fact that that was the only business they were getting from us. Yeah.
Gotcha.
As part of our package, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Brock, you have anything?
Aside from logo and related activities, no, I'm
Okay.
good this week.
Our invisible attorney, Mr. Butler. Do you,
No, I don't have anything special to report.
okay.
Here I am. I'm back. Hello, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so in that case, let's move on to unfinished business. The first thing I want to discuss is, and the reason for the change obviously didn't transpire. The first thing I want to discuss is the recodification. We have made substantive changes based on changes to our codes, based on the Missouri statute changes, and other corrective changes in the zoning regulations as were set out in Chapter 405 of the Clarkson Valley Code, and we are asking this to be adopted. We did have, as Honora mentioned, a planning and zoning meeting as we tried to do last month, and we had to delay that so we could have the hearing in front of the planning and zoning area. And Honora, did you have anything you wanted to add that
Not really.
related to that? No?
Who wrote the bill? Did Patrick write it, or this bill that's we're going to pass?
I think General Code wrote that.
General code?
Yeah, we just adopted what they had. So in essence, this is kind of a done deal. We just gotta say yeah and move on. So With that in mind, I would like to hear a motion and a second to discuss and vote. Is there any motion?
We have to hold the
Oop,
public hearing first.
Okay, we have 47 seconds thereabouts to go to do that. Okay, so at this time, I'm sorry, I have 32 seconds and, well, maybe a minute. Do we need to wait till? Okay. At this time, I would like to pause the regular meeting and begin the public hearing. And this is to discuss the adoption of the recodification bill number 0537.
Is
So,
there anyone here to talk?
I don't see anyone, so I'm assuming no one wishes to discuss it. I'm sorry. So, does anyone wish to discuss this
The yellow tab.
on the council?
Yellow.
So, may I hear a motion to discuss and vote? And a second? Motion and a second, please?
We should probably close the public hearing. You did open it?
I did open the public
Okay,
hearing.
and
so-
then we'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
And then come back to our regular
All right,
meeting.
thank you. So we now will close the public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting. So now I get to ask for, thank you. Now I need a motion and a second to please discuss and vote on this acceptance, the adoption of this new code. Ordinance, sorry.
I make a motion that we discuss bill number 537-0537 and discuss it and vote on it.
A second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, so do I hear any discussion? And Nora, do you have anything you wish to address specifically?
No, I don't have anything.
Gentlemen? Nope. I believe at this point we can now take a vote. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Honora Schiller,
Yes.
Lynn Majette,
Yes.
Jeff Schweig,
Yes.
Andrew Lowe,
Yes.
Brock McDonald.
Yes.
Yay, it's a unanimous vote.
It was,
Ordinance passes.
it was a tough process, honestly. It's good to
It's-
have that.
Yeah, it sounds easy, but it was a little more complicated than that. Okay, I would like to discuss and Resolution 24-02, the ARPA approval for disbursement of the ARPA funds to Clarkson Mill Circle. I need a motion and a second to discuss and vote. Did I get the?
Yeah,
number wrong?
Forest Hills Ridge first,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I had it,
and that's 2401.
okay, shoot. I was changing things around and I dropped that off. Okay, 2401. That's Forest Hills Ridge.
I make a motion that we discuss and approve resolution 2401.
A second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Nope. Michelle, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Clarkson Valley approving the payment of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, to the Homeowners Association of Forest Hills Ridge. Forest Hills Ridge.
Any discussion? Nope. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Jeff Schweig,
Yes.
Lynn Majette,
Yeah.
Honora Schiller,
Yes.
Andrew Lowe,
Abstain.
Brock McDonald.
Yes.
That passes, Mayor, and
Yay,
becomes
okay.
Resolution 2401.
Too bad Forest Hills and Tom Beck, Forest Hills Ridge is not here, but we'll let him know. Excellent, thank you. Now we're going to discuss Resolution 24-02, which is the approval of disbursement for ARPA funds to Clarkson Mills Circle. I need a motion and a second to discuss and vote on that one.
I move we discuss and vote on resolution 2402, approval of disbursement to Clarkson Mill Circle ARPA funds.
Second, please?
I second.
All in, well, I'm sorry, do we have any discussion? Nope. Silence is good. Okay,
Call roll.
Michelle, will you please call the roll? Yes, thank you.
Andrew Lowe,
Abstain.
Brett McDonald,
Yes.
Jeff Schweig,
Yes.
Honora Schiller,
Yes.
Lynn Midget.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes. Clarkson Mill gets their money. We'll let them know. Next, we want to discuss, I believe, updating our building and permit fee schedule. I need a motion to, and a second to discuss. Please?
If we're just discussing it and there's nothing to vote on, why do we have to say we're to
Yeah, I don't
discuss
think you need
it?
a
I think
vote
we
for
just
that. It's
discuss
just an
Okay.
agenda.
All right, so we are gonna discuss this. This is why Brad is here. We have, the three of us have spent considerable amount of time reviewing what our fees are relative to other cities. And I think Brad has some pretty solid information and can document the discrepancy between what our fees are versus other cities. Brad, would you care to share that information?
Sure, yeah, when I first came to Clarkson Valley, I went right to the building code section in your code of ordinances just to see where you were, what you had going on. And it seemed to me that your fee schedule was in need of attention. And in need of attention, I meant, the fees themselves were incredibly low, not anywhere close to what all the other cities are doing. That was the first problem. The second problem is your fees are scattered throughout the whole book. You know, if you look up land disturbance, you go to the L's, read it, it'll send you back to the building. Same with fences. I mean, you've got a dozen different places that talk about fees in your thick book. And it's better to have them all in one fund. Makes it easier for the homeowners, contractors, developers. Then the third thing that kind of struck me as odd is how you actually calculate your fees. And your fees are essentially calculated on the number of inspections that you anticipate. Well, that's anybody's guess. You know, you literally, the building commissioner, whoever it may be, holds up a plan and thinks, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, you know, and it really depends. If it's a problem contractor, you're gonna be out there repeatedly, you know, on failed inspections or problems with the site. And if you only charge them for 5 and you end up doing 10 or 11, well, you know, you're in the hole at that point. So the combination of all three of those started me looking at your fees and what we could do. And one of the things that's happening is that the city is subsidizing these permit fee users. For instance, if Brock, you come in for a kitchen remodel, you'll pay $250 in fees, but then the actual cost to the city is more like $400 or $500. Where does that extra money come from? It comes from general fund. And that's really not fair to all the other people that aren't using their kitchen. You know, why would they pay for it? So that's one thing that's happening that I think should be corrected. And then your fee schedule, as far as the dollars, you're simply not recouping enough money to make the department run properly. And properly is kind of an arbitrary term, but right now, if we issue a permit for, say, a room addition, everybody stamps it, signs off on it, it goes into the metal file cabinet, never to be seen again. We don't follow up on it. We have no idea if they built a two-story structure. You know, there's just not enough manpower here to do that. So you really need some more labor to make the department function efficiently. I mean, what's the point of issuing a permit if you're not gonna follow up on it? You know? So the department does need some more assets. The only way to do that is to get more revenue. And that revenue comes in adjusting your permit fees. Do you guys have the graphs with all the bars?
Yes, they are in your packets. I'd like to call your attention to a couple of things here. The first one is this blue horizontal chart. This is a printout of all the fees charged by various townships for a variety of projects. It includes residential swimming pools, commercial tenant finish, residential kitchen remodel, total revenue for those projects. And I would also like to point out that Clarkson Valley, which is the 4th township listed, is the bottom basement lowest revenue listed. We come in at, assuming these projects are of all of this cost, our revenue would be $1,388. And there are other townships, Brentwood, Frontenac, and Frontenac is probably the highest. For those same projects, their revenue is $6,356. That is a huge discrepancy.
Well, before we talk dollars, the main takeaway from this table is that if you look down the chart, you'll see that all cities do it differently. You know, one might use square footage, another one might use a proprietary table. Others use a dollar amount based on the project cost. So the methodology is all over the map. So that's hard to compare. So what I did was I took 3 standard projects. You know, I selected a kitchen, a pool, and a commercial tenant finish. And if you take those same projects, same dollar amount, same scope of work to each different city, we calculated what their permit fees would be. That's what the bar charts or the graphs show. And you can see that Clarkson Valley is way towards the left, at the bottom.
And the one that he's referring, the chart that he's referring to, here would be these figures, these charts.
Yeah, and on that chart, you'll see.
Excuse me, Brad, we have 2. One is a swimming pool, it costs $150,000 to put in. And another is a kitchen remodel, which is $80,000. And speaking personally, I would think that's a bargain, because ours certainly costs more than that. One thing I would like to point out is on the swimming pool, just as an example, they put in a $150,000 pool, and they have their fence installed by an alternate vendor, not the contractor. And often those things are bundled together. Our fence permit fee to put that fence around that pool is $25, around a $150,000 project. There's a big gap there. So go ahead, Brad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, when you look at the graph, you'll see that you're at the bottom of the pack. And that sends a message to contractors, because they figure, I know how they think, if we're paying for just a little bit, they're not gonna do much for us. You know, you get what you pay for. That's their kind of philosophy. So if they're paying a small permit fee, they're probably thinking we can get away with a lot in Clarkson Valley. Well, that's not the case now that I'm here. So so I'll be watching them. And another way to look at these permit fees is their insurance. If you're gonna invest $150,000, you wanna make sure it's done right, you know, that you're getting your money's worth. So that's really kind of what your permit fee does for you. It's another level of oversight, more eyes on the project, make sure it's done right. So if you were to increase your fees, your net increase would be twofold. You'll be getting additional dollars because you're charging more, but you're also gonna recoup what you no longer have to subsidize with. So if you've been putting out $25,000, $30,000 in subsidies, you can add that to your new fees, and you'll have a bigger bottom line. So, you know, it's hard to determine where you should be on that graph. It's kind of a political decision. Do you want to be the most expensive city in the area? Probably not. Your residents won't like that.
And right now, that's Frontenac.
Yeah, yeah. But likewise, you also don't want to be at the bottom of that. I mean, that's not a good place to be either.
And I think to Brad's point, I think that this illustrates, again, another discrepancy in perception by other people, other townships of who and what we are. I got off the plane from Phoenix the other night coming home, and there was a couple in front of us we were getting on the plane. And they turned to us and asked if we were from St. Louis or visiting, and I said, no, we live there. And I said, what about you guys? And he said, oh, no, we live there as well. And I said, oh, where do you live? And he sort of did this, town and country. I said, oh, we live in Clarkson Valley. Oh, and I mean, I looked at Sam and asked him, and his reaction was, oh, okay, you're equal to or maybe better than town and country. And we are. And it was a very pointed reaction. But this, again, to Brad's point, we're at the bottom of the barrel in what we ask from our contractors. And to his point about subsidization, all the money that we don't make from these permits and chasing that around, Michelle and Andrea have to do, and we pay them to do that. Instead of making revenue from our permit fees, we're taking the bottom of the barrel in terms of income here, and we're paying Michelle and Andrea to do the rest.
So, I have two questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Does anybody oppose raising permit fees?
We'll have to change the ordinance because it says you can't change it except in January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
as
but
in
that
concept,
is-
in
but-
concept,
Hey,
though.
hang on.
Madam Mayor,
then
Madam Mayor,
only based on
Madam Mayor,
what the-
can I
Excuse
interrupt,
me,
please?
Nora. Go ahead, Pat.
The section you're applying, 500.310, only applies to automatic adjustments under the CPI, where many cities have the similar language, even the city manager. That's an automatic annual increase based upon economic circumstances of the CPI. That does not limit the city to take independent action for factors unrelated to CPI. So the interpretation, that does not prohibit the city for reasons other than the CPI to change the building fees. Secondly, the city has not taken any action on that in over 20 years. So we should have been doing this for 20 years, but section 500.310 should not be interpreted to say we can't vote on this tonight because we're not voting on it to increase it based on the CPI. We're voting on it because we haven't done anything in 20 years, and as a legislative matter, we're losing money, and Brad has demonstrated a real reason why we should be doing this, because under Missouri law, we have the right to recoup his fees and the fees incurred by City Hall, Michelle, and her assistants. And basically, we should not be losing money on doing inspection, and we have been for years. And that's the good cause why you can pass this tonight, independent of Chapter 500.310. I'll be happy to answer any questions on that.
Well, I wasn't suggesting we make a decision tonight. I just want, a lot of good reasons why we should increase it. Do we have any reason at all why we should leave these permit fees the same? Is there any reason?
I don't think so.
Is there any reason we shouldn't just defer to Brad? He has all these different,
Right.
formulaic approaches to determining permit fees. Does anyone have any opposition to deferring to Brad to develop a formula to present to us at a
Well,
later date for voting?
this was
Well-
one of the things I had hoped to discuss in a working session. However, that didn't happen, so that's one reason we're here tonight. The other reason we could be here is to, Patrick, if memory serves, if I'm correct, we can repeal that section of the code tonight. We can vote to repeal that, and then,
If you want to, but you really don't have to, because the only thing that says is each year, you can automatically increase it based on the CPI, if you want to, without any other reason. But what you're doing, discussing tonight, is the fact that you identified the fact that you're losing money on these inspections. Or for instance, say you hire a second building inspector. That's a reason to increase your fees. Say you start doing additional inspections, you can increase your fees to recoup your cost. So you don't have to take any action to do anything with 500.310, because you can use it next year to bump it up a little more based on economic circumstances if you want to. So you really don't have to repeal it, because you can approve your fees because you identified other reasons to justify the increase.
so, in essence, we can legitimately vote on whatever amount we choose to employ tonight and go forward from there, correct?
Yeah, the only standard you have to follow, and which you guys are doing, is any fee increase has to be reasonably related to the cost incurred by the city in providing the public service. And Brad has identified his fees, Michelle's fees, number of inspections, how much the city spends on an annual basis doing this, meaning you cannot adopt a fee schedule that bring in $100,000 if you're not doing $100,000 worth of inspections. That's really the only limitation. You have to be reasonably related to the services that are being performed.
Well, one thing we discussed earlier was that this would be directly related also, not only to Brad, but also to what Michelle and Andrea do, because in all the time they spend handling permits, et cetera, those
They're
are,
hourly
that's
workers. They're
dollars,
incurring fees.
that's dollars that are spent in being utilized for the building inspection. So they're being paid to be an assistant building inspector. So that money could then be attributed to their salary. Brad, you had developed basically an amount of X number of dollars per thousand per project. And we had all talked on a number of occasions, and the simplest way to apply these increases or to come to a reasonable number would just be to assign X number of dollars per thousand. And I think it ran the gamut from $650. I'm sorry, remind me, what was our current rate?
Currently, your fees are at about $1.71 per thousand.
And just roughly, Frontenac was what?
$8.
Eight.
$8.
8, yeah. So, I'm sorry, but my recommendation would be to charge what I think we're worth. And while I don't want to be Frontenac, I think Brad's identified, here it is, $7 per thousand. And that puts us in a pretty good place. So I would suggest that we consider that to start with.
So we wouldn't be collecting a base fee plus.
Pardon me? No, no,
Plus
no.
X per thousand.
And that's where it
value.
gets complicated. I want this to be as simple as possible.
It doesn't seem that complicated. All these other cities do it.
Well,
And we're just
I-
as good as any of them. I mean,
No, I agree, but I think in this case, just assigning a flat fee per cost of the project is the easiest way to do this. There's no arbitrary choices, there's no, Brad can identify how much the project is probably worth. And one of my questions was, what if you get a contractor who says, oh, this only costs $50,000? And Brad said, yeah, no, they know, a good building inspector knows what the project costs. So coming into our house, in our remodeling situation, looking at the materials used, and in Clarkson Valley, we're not looking at linoleum floors.
Can we arbitrarily allow someone to say, well, no, this contract says it's 50,000, but I say it's 70,000? I don't think we can allow someone
It's
to
not
arbitrarily.
an arbitrary choice.
It
It's a
is, it's
professional
arbitrary.
assessment.
But it's a professional assessment, not based on the person doing the work, though. I feel like we have to just have, it's the budget for the project, it's the contract that was submitted with the permit paperwork, that's the value of the
Well,
project.
what's submitted with the permit paperwork would be the value of the project. And
Yes.
I would defer to a professional assessment based on his knowledge and expertise. He's got a pretty good idea what it's gonna cost. The other flip side of that coin is the question of, okay, what if you get somebody who says, well, you say it's $70,000, but I say it's 50,000, and you find out later that maybe it was 80,000. What sort of ramifications or repercussions do we apply to this particular contractor? And while we don't necessarily need to employ penalties, just the thought that, you know what, you're gonna get your hand slapped, and word's gonna get around to other people who live in Clarkson Valley and may or may not wish to employ you to do their work. Because if their permits, they're faced with a work stop order because they were caught being less than accurate with their assessment, that's gonna inconvenience the homeowner, which is gonna.
Sorry, inaccurate in terms of the cost of the project?
Pardon me?
You said it being inaccurate about the
If
project.
it's grossly
Yeah.
inaccurate and it's assessed professionally, Brad walks in and says, yeah, this is not a $50,000 project, this is 80,000, because you've got a Viking refrigerator and you've got quartz
Does this
countertops.
happen? Have you walked into a project and been like, whoa, they spent triple what they said they were gonna spend on
No.
it? It doesn't happen,
Okay,
right?
then we can
move on from that. That's-
Okay.
That's
My
nonsense.
experience that most people, 98% of them tell the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Good.
then we don't need to
Somebody trying to
beat
pull
that.
fast
Yeah.
one, and all you have to do is say, can you give me a contract?
Yeah, show me the
And
contract.
the contractor's not gonna falsify documents.
No, because that invalidates the whole thing. All their defaults and remedies to and from to the customer are all thrown out the window when they fraudulently draft the document like that.
Brad, did you do this schedule?
No, that's actually an accounting of last year's permit fee. And at the very bottom right, you'll see what the different dollar amounts would net you.
So that would,
Yeah, $6.
that shows what we got, what we received, and then if you went to this other method, what we would.
Right, and those $40,000 numbers, like I said, that's just your permit fee capture. You're gonna have another chunk of money from non-subsidies. So you'll really end up with $60,000-$70,000
Okay,
every single year.
first of all, you've been doing awesome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. This is great, and I hope you like the iPad. Make sure I'm reading this right. In 2023, through all of our permits, we collected $20,779.92, right?
Correct.
For all the, I'm looking at the list.
Yes.
Using some of these methods that Brad is, well, it's the
The flat fee.
particular amount per thousand that we have yet to decide. That jumps significantly if we were to have applied that in this past year.
Correct.
Right, so the gap, I'm totally on board with this, and thank you for all the work. The gap that we need to nail down, you too, Michelle, if you do this. The gap we need to nail down is how much extra work, so we could potentially have a revenue increase of, let's say 25,000-ish, depending on which level we pick. Going back to what Patrick said, what's justifiable? How many more hours do you need? Obviously, a little one bathroom is different than a whole commercial remodel, and so yes, the fee should vary, and I can get on board with that. I don't think Brad's done enough. He's not here to be a legislator or politician. I don't think he's gonna single out which one he thinks we should go with, but this is a great range to choose. Just what is appropriate for the increase that we decide on.
Well, I
Right.
would ask Brad's opinion because he's expressed it on a number of occasions. Would you care to share it with everybody?
Well, I have a good example, and it goes directly to the word appropriate. Just yesterday, we took in a whole house remodel. They're gutting the entire inside, every wall, every electric, plumbing, mechanical. It's $1.4 million worth of work. If you apply $7 per thousand to that, that's a $10,000 permit fee. Are we gonna provide $10,000 worth of inspection? Probably
No.
not.
And they're paying, what, a couple hundred now? Under
They
current?
pay 300 and
Yeah,
something right now.
yeah, 350.
Yes, that's a big difference between 300 and 10,000. Is 10,000 appropriate? Probably not, Patrick will tell you, that's not reasonable.
And we're not trying to do this to gouge our residents.
No, it's,
But it speaks to just saying the dollar per thousand isn't, if you're coating your house in marble, that doesn't take you any more effort to inspect it than coating your whole house in concrete for.
Well, actually, what I've found here in Clarkson Valley is nobody builds plain.
Yeah.
Everybody builds high-tech, complex, large scope, so it does take longer
But I'm saying just the
to review
cost
and inspect.
to the material though, like if you're doing $50 a square foot for your flooring versus $25 per square foot for your flooring, that value delta doesn't cost any more to inspect
It
necessarily.
does not, no.
Yeah.
So where I'm at is, you mentioned additional labor. Where I'm at is 20,000 for 2023. Let's just say 2024 would be on track for that as well. If we're expecting to pull in then between 40 and 50,000 at one of these future rates, what's the dollar value of the help you need? What is justifiable? And that, I think, will help us nail down a decision. And I don't see that here. I don't know if you guys got that far. I think that is what could really help nail this down to pick a number. I'm totally on board with this, by the way.
I'm not saying I need any more help, and I don't need any more dollars. I mean, I'm fine where I'm at, and my pay doesn't go up or down based on what you all decide here.
No, but you just said we're now doing a disservice to someone who's doing a $1.4 million renovation because you're only one guy
Right,
on a humongous project.
right. And on that project, I'm guessing maybe 12, 15 inspections. So that's 12 to 15 times $60. But Michelle will touch that project 30 times.
Right.
Every time they call in for an inspection, she's using her time. Every time I send her an inspection report, she's got to file it. So, she touches it twice as much as I do.
Yep, I'm with you.
And, every little bit of the phone system and the electric bill and the copy machine, all of that, a little piece of that, a little piece of this goes into that permit.
Yep.
So
So-
excuse me, Andrew, would it be fair to say that the bigger the project, the more time it's gonna take you and Michelle to do inspections and,
Yeah, well,
Paperwork.
essentially the big projects kind of carry the freight for the little projects. Because if you get a $10,000 bathroom remodel, you're gonna lose money. Because we're not recouping enough. 7 times 10 is only $70. I can only go out there one time for that. So, yeah, you're gonna lose on the small end, small projects, but you're gonna recoup it on the big ones. And you can add all that together and kind of average it, is what Creve Coeur did. Now, these graphs, let me say this before you start talking, deciding where to go. These graphs are kind of a living, breathing animal, because Baldwin may adjust their fees next month, and Frontenac may adjust theirs next year. So everybody's moving to the right. So if you choose, let's just say $6, and then everybody moves to the right, well, suddenly you're at the bottom of the pack again. So you gotta look to the future and give yourself time. You know, if you pick the right number, you won't have to readjust your fees for 5, 6, 7 years.
Some of the expense of the $1 million thing is the flooring, the cabinets. You don't go out and inspect that.
You may not know.
Right, but that's part of the cost.
It is.
So if you go by that, you start wondering, you know, we're charging for something we're not inspecting.
But
If you
the-
go by the total cost.
But the cost per $1,000 is a pretty standard way to assess fees when you say, I mean, I've heard that
Yeah,
from
50% of the
plenty of
city.
places. Yeah, that's pretty common. So it's never gonna be perfect, like, does the complexity and attention of the building commissioner go up as the cost of the project go up? Well, common sense would say yes. Is it a direct correlation? Maybe, maybe not, but generally speaking, it's probably pretty close. And so I'm okay with the dollar per thousand method. It's just which one do we want to pick.
So in this data, and if we don't make a decision here tonight, I'd like to get this in Excel form just so I can tinker, highlight. But since, in this data alone, the projects range anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000. Have you ever seen, or would you think it'd be worthwhile even to think about a graduated dollar per, so say like if it's less than $25,000 for the project, it's $8 per thousand.
Yeah, well.
Up to over 100,000, maybe it's only $5 per thousand, something, and you step it down
I
in
think
buckets.
it's important to have a minimum permit fee for those very small projects
Okay.
and a maximum. You know, if Marquette comes in with a $15 million addition, you're not gonna charge them $300,000 in permit fee. We just can't afford, we can't give them that much service.
And that's a point that Brad has made, that, we tend to think of ourselves as strictly residential. But included in our city is Mercy, Rockwood School District, and those two facilities alone, when they start making changes to their building and their infrastructure, that costs a lot of money. So to your point, as far as a graduated amount would be, I think a max and a max would be a good idea, because you don't want to gouge Mercy or Rockwood just because they're putting in huge HVAC systems and audio and, X-ray or all kinds of high-tech stuff, and the bill is going to be phenomenal. We don't want to pay for the rest of our lives on their permit fees. But on the other hand, we have to realize that, those kinds of projects are also going to take a whole lot of Brad's time, a lot more than your little single bathroom remodel. So,
You all are a non-for-profit organization, so you can't make a profit. You're not supposed to. But you're gonna have good years and bad years. Some years, if Marquette does a big project, you'll be in the black. Other years, if nobody does anything, you'll be in the red. And those will even out over time. But you have to kind of count on that, or look forward to it and plan accordingly.
so at this point, I think what we probably need to decide is, to your point, Andrew, where we want to be. And again, this was something that I was hoping we could discuss in a working session, but we're here. So perhaps we can identify more or less where we want to be. And we can always hold a special meeting to vote on, okay, we agree that we think it's going to be this much per 1,000. Can we hold a special meeting on Wednesday, vote on it, get it done, and we're going.
I would like to look at these figures myself, and I really don't have any more to discuss about it until I do look at the figures.
Okay, good. So thoughts? Next steps, folks? Anybody got a suggestion?
Get us the data in the Excel form and we'll see what pops out.
Brad, can you provide that, please?
What's that?
Brad
This
is-
is the list of the projects and their associated permit fees. Could we have the Excel version of that emailed out?
That's fine, and
Oh.
yes, yeah, I'll
Okay.
get that right
Yeah,
over to
whoever has
you.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to put a bit of a time limit on this. I would like to have this, an opportunity to discuss this again so we can vote on this, if nothing else, next month, which means we're going to have to talk about where everybody thinks we're gonna be between now and then. So, anybody got any thoughts, ideas, timing?
I'm fond of option B, smack dab in the middle, 650 per thousand, middle of the pack. Not being greedy, not getting taken advantage of, right in line with our other peers in the area. That's where I stand.
I can tell you that's where 3-4 came in. They wanted to be right in that 75th percentile. They were just comfortable with that. Fully.
Yeah.
Lynn, do you have any gut feeling?
Well, all for it, I just, wanna come up with the right
Yeah.
place to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not, don't know if I know where that is right now.
Nora, do you have any
No,
information?
I'm gonna look at the figures. I
Okay.
really can't just look at them right.
Right. Andrew, or Brock, Jeff, you guys have any inclination at this point?
I'm kind of agreeing with Andrew, where he's coming from. The 650, the middle number, you don't have to change it all the time.
Brock?
We do 650 with a cap and with a floor. That could work, but let's,
I think that's what we have to need to know.
Let's figure out if that's
Know if
right.
we wanna
Okay.
Max
Cool.
or minimum part of it.
All right, well, why don't we all take this information home? Michelle will get you the
Yes.
Excel sheets to review and examine, and then I'll reach out to everyone to see when they're available to hold. And Patrick, would this be a working session or a special meeting during which we could theoretically adopt and vote on this?
Well, if you want to vote on it, it has to be a special meeting.
Right.
You cannot vote or pass an ordinance during a working session. You need a
Right.
special meeting.
Right. But at this point, if we all agree on a number, we could then hold a special meeting, vote on it, and adopt it at that point.
But we don't all agree on a
Correct.
number right now.
No, I understand that. So we need to have a meeting, working session, whatever, to discuss what the dollar amount is that we all concur on, and then from that point forward, we can vote on it, right? How long does everybody think they want to take to review this information? And do you want Brad there to weigh in on it? Would he be helpful?
I think Brad has done more than his part and put this nice package together for us. Just the delta, the only hesitation is that, okay, we make X amount more in revenue. What does that take off Michelle's plate? What additional service does that provide for the residents if we're increasing the fees?
Well, one of the things, I've been thinking about this, and one of the things that this will facilitate and provide is this new employee that we're gonna have to identify. And that's gonna be a full-time individual. And I think if you go out currently today and look at appropriate salaries that are earned or paid to associate city clerks or city clerks in general, that's gonna be significant. So I'm hoping that this will subsidize that expenditure. We don't wanna be in a position to be putting so much money away that we get into trouble with the auditors, with the Hancock Amendment, but with the employment of a new individual, that will certainly diminish that overage that we might possibly end up with. So I think this would be a good thing going forward to help utilize and support that going forward.
That scares me a little bit because we're talking about a very specific revenue source. And part of what I heard Brad say was, with that could come increased service. So I understand we have, pretty uncomplicated finances, we have a general fund, but I would also like to see, you know,
Dollars to dollars, right. Well,
that,
that's one
that
of the
should go
things
towards
that-
making sure our building commissioner and whoever else is able to do their jobs, because that's really where the money's coming from.
And that's one of the things that Lynn and Greg and I are gonna talk about when Greg gets
Okay.
back. We're gonna sit down, work on the budget, and also help define exactly what it is we need to anticipate in paying someone to get someone of sufficient skill on board to be able to move into Michelle's spot whenever she says, peace out, I'm done. But until such time, yeah, we are way behind the curve on this. And
Brad, how many inspections are you going to tell the people right away when they have a permit as to when you're gonna come out to inspect or whatever?
Well, under the dollar per thousand method, it won't matter. We'll come out and do as many inspections as needed for that $1 amount.
How do you know that? Do they have an idea, so we need to call you after this so you can come out and inspect? Is that what they do? They know? Because I know
Contractors
like
do,
when we
don't
did
they?
our retaining wall, they knew they had to call when they did the lower levels so that the inspector could check it.
That's the contractor, right?
Contractors generally know what to call for, but usually when I show up the first time, I'll talk to them. I'll say, now you're gonna call me for the geogrid and the final and the site and all this, and just kind of remind them.
Okay. Because I was wondering if you were gonna have a set number for certain types of,
No,
No?
you
Okay.
can't do that because it's all over the board.
And if they keep getting stuff wrong,
Yeah.
you can go out for your rough-in 8 times,
Yeah.
you know, worst case scenario.
Do
so.
any of these municipalities make the residents or the contractor pay for re-inspections?
Well, Clarkson Valley does, but we have no way to track it. It's incredibly labor intensive for Michelle to bill it, track it, make sure they paid it.
Sure, so,
You know, things
it's not
fall
worth
through
it.
the cracks all the time.
Okay,
And that's
so
what,
during,
a $40 permit?
yeah,
$40,
building,
yeah.
so building that in is more or less
It's
a
an
wise
efficient-
way to go, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I would say let's give it a few days. I'll reach out to everybody and see if you guys have come to some good thoughts, some solid opinions, and we'll see if we can schedule a working session, a special meeting, whatever it needs to be, and move from there. Does that sound like a plan?
Michelle, do you have 2022 in that Excel sheet as well, or is it a separate file?
It would entail some work.
No, okay, don't worry.
I
about it.
think
Okay.
she had a hard enough time doing 2023. that's
All right,
Well,
don't worry
all-
about that. I
all
thought that was like the master sheet of
Yeah,
things.
all we added was the, all these fees.
Oh
so
gosh,
we
we didn't even
pulled-
have that.
So no, I mean, the fees we had, I'm sorry, the cost of the project. So because it didn't matter up until now. So
Fair enough.
we added that, and we also added square footage, not knowing which way, we're gonna go.
Okay. Yeah, don't worry about 22 then.
Okay.
And,
thank
you know, to your point, Brock, that was then, this is now, so.
Now, the more to see it, you know, what's our trend in our average project cost, where's it going, kind of thing. It just helped out more than 12 months, but the
Well, I
cost
think
is
it's-
not outweighed.
I think one way to look at it is, what does a 2x4 cost today versus a couple of years ago?
Ebbs and flows.
And those building materials have escalated like crazy, so. Okay, well, that's a good discussion. So, next on the menu, I would like to discuss our liquor license fee schedule. And I would like a motion and a second to discuss, please.
Apparently, we don't need to. Patrick, we don't need to, do a motion to discuss, do we?
No.
The liquor license, yeah, you need a motion to discuss the
Oh, good,
liquor
okay.
liquor license, because you're gonna discuss to increase it,
Right,
All right.
correct?
yes. Oh,
All right, go ahead.
somebody want to make a motion and a second, please?
Motion to discuss City of Clarkson Valley liquor permit fees.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ayes, nays?
Aye. Aye.
Are we
What-
gonna
we're
discuss?
just discussing.
Yeah.
It's just discussion so
just
far.
for
not
discussion,
voting.
What are we
yes.
voting on?
Yeah.
Hold the roll.
Yeah, we're discussing it?
Yeah,
Well, a
I don't know.
motion, so you have to pass the motion, right?
To discuss it?
Yeah.
We just, why can't we just talk about it?
I think we can talk about it.
Let's- then let's talk about it.
Vote whether you wanna accept it.
For the last, and if you will look in your inside front cover, the yellow sheet that you will find in your packet of information is a reference to what the clubs in various townships pay in terms of their liquor fees. Baldwin is $600, Creveport is $750, De Pere $600, Glendale is one of the least expensive at Algonquin, it's $450. I guess the most expensive is Ladue. They have Racket Club, they have Belle Reve. I think Belle Reve is in Ladue, or is that Town and Country? Town and Country. What about Old Warson? Are they in Ladue? They're in Ladue.
St. Louis Club, right?
Pardon me?
St. Louis Club.
Old St. Louis,
Yeah.
yeah, St. Louis Country Club, yep, yep. Kirkwood is Greenbrier at $550, Normandy Hills, $750, Sunset Country Club's $450, Town and Country would be Belle Reve. And I think there's another one there too. Anyway, in a nutshell, Forest Hills, anybody wanna take a guess? What we've asked Forest Hills to pay over the last 30 years?
75.
75.
There you go. $75. I think their budget can absorb a bit more, and I would like us to be more commensurate with the other townships who are fortunate enough to have nice country clubs in them.
How much time is involved in issuing a liquor license?
A half an hour at the most.
Do we print out the certificate? Does that include that?
Yes, we do, yeah,
Do they have to have a state license too, or just a
Yes,
city?
they do.
They have to have both.
yes.
And what is the state license fee? Do you know?
That I don't know. Working for the wine distributor, I know that they have to have, that has to be renewed once a year. I think it's in June or July. But I do know they have to, and it has to be displayed in a public manner. So I guess my question here is, what do you guys think? And I've already spoken to Emma Gore. I told her that we were going to discuss this and that we would be raising the liquor fee. Their budget does not come up. She said thanks because they will include this in their discussion for their budget. I think they vote on their budget in April, so the timing is good for them.
When do they do for renewal?
July 1. or-
Yeah.
or- Yeah.
Okay.
The licenses renew every year in July, statewide. That's for everybody that sells alcohol. Some of these numbers vary because there are different fees for different venues, given what they do. For instance, Monday through Saturday is one fee, and then Sunday is often another fee. And then there are alternate fees for catering events or off-site events where they will send caterers to someone's house and bring the liquor with them to be dispensed at an event at the private residence. So there's all different kinds of ways to assess this amount. So, again, we have charged $75 a year for the last 30-something years. What are your thoughts about what kind of fees we want to charge?
Seems something around 550 to 600 would be reasonable.
And I
Compared to some
think
of the
the
others.
maximum we can charge is 1,000. I know, don't want to be anywhere near that. But I think the standard fee is pretty close to 600. And if you average 750 and 450, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, add those up and divide them by 9. I don't know what the average cost would be, but I think 600 is probably not too unreasonable.
So, I don't know what their budget looks like, but it sounds like you've given them fair warning, this is up for discussion. It doesn't sound like they're kicking and screaming, they're not here tonight, so I assume that they're going to reasonably expect some sort of increase and they're okay with it. So-
Well, and as a member, we're very cognizant of the fact that this is going to eventually hit our membership fees or the price that we pay when we go in to have a glass of wine or a cocktail. I don't think this is gonna hurt them, and it's certainly not gonna hurt me.
Right, and
One
that's
big-
my point.
Yeah, like one big dinner party's gonna cover their liquor license for the year.
Pretty much, yeah. And I will also add that typically they have these wine dinners. And Jeff, you guys used to be members, you may be familiar with this. You can go to this wine dinner and the food is great. And the wines that they offer is offered to the members at a discount. You go in and theoretically there's a $50 bottle of wine. Retail cost is $50. Wholesale cost is probably somewhere closer to $30. Theoretically, the club should sell you that. They promise you that the wine cost to you, the member, would be at about $40. So it's not going to be as much as your standard retail location, but it's not going to be quite wholesale either. They make money on the liquor that they sell, even if it's off premise, which means it's consumed somewhere off the premises. They make money on this. The last couple of times we've gone to one of those dinners, first time I went, I thought, I'm not going again, because the money that they charge for that wine, I can go buy at retail costs for less money than they were charging at that dinner. And on top of that, they stack on a 20% gratuity charge. Sorry, last time I'm coming. They've since reduced that and sort of sent out a letter of, not apology per se, but we've had a lot of feedback that this is blah, 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 so they've lowered it. But they're making money off it. So I don't see any problem with us charging more than $75 a year.
Okay, so instead of us five waffling back and forth, what would the recommendation be that we could put up? Lynn gave a number. Obviously, Sue, you
56.
thought this through. This is the first time I'm seeing this, so I agree with an increase, but I'm not stuck to a number if we're gonna do this.
Well, give me one.
Where should we land?
You guys talk for just a second. Give me a second here. I have
I'm
not.
sure you don't include the do in that, because theirs is a formula, not a
It's
fixed.
getting late.
Nora, I wanted to do this in a working session, divide this
I
up,
know, but I don't think we need to make a decision tonight. The price goes up in July
I know.
is when we
That's
renew
true.
it.
No.
So why don't we
No,
talk about it
no,
now and
no.
discuss
Their-
it at the next
no,
meeting?
their budget goes up, has to go in place in April. The license renewal with the state takes effect at the end of June and goes into effect. It has to be posted by 1 July. So I'm
Okay.
looking
I
at.
mean,
I
our
can't imagine.
But this is a
budget-
fraction of
Not
percent.
gonna
This is
I
a
can't
fraction
imagine
of
if
a
we charge
percent of the budget.
$1,000, it's gonna be a difference, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're not gonna change their fee structure.
thought
They're hardly gonna notice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And look at what they've
It's
been
$100.
getting away with all this time.
Well,
So
not
it's
getting away with
$70
it,
a month or
it's
something different.
our inaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they didn't pull it
It
over on
takes
us.
10
Oh, no, no,
Yeah.
No, it's,
Oh,
No.
You got it.
Yeah.
I mean,
First of all,
it's not a big deal to them, but why are we charging them extra?
Because it's the going rate.
Just because we can?
Yes.
Audit?
my,
All right,
My
are-
thing is
Are we
gonna-
ready?
my
Because I'm
phone
gonna
is
motion to
bad.
table this if we're not ready.
So, I would like to take a vote on it and get it done tonight. So I will take a suggestion from anybody, we can vote on that and move forward. You guys good with $6.50?
I move we increase the liquor license fee to 600.
600?
Second. Give it to Brock.
Do we need a voice vote, or is this a call a roll?
Call roll.
I would call the roll, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Michelle, will you please call the roll?
I will. And that was 600, just to make sure.
600, yeah.
Okay. All right, Honora Schiller,
No.
Lynn Majette,
Yes.
Brock McDonald,
Yes.
Andrew Lowe,
Yes.
and Jeff Schweig.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 yeses, 1 no.
I believe the motion, the vote has passed, and the new liquor fee for Forest Hills will be $600 going forward.
Boom.
Okay. Hang on here, 1 second. I believe, let me sure this is correctly. That should. The audit. I need a motion and a second to discuss and approve the audit as posted. Do I hear a motion and a second? Well, let's not all jump in here.
Motion to approve the audit for invoices approved for payment as of 9 January.
A second? All in favor?
I have a
Aye.
question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
On,
Discussion, please.
Central Bank credit card, you have the Best Buy iPad, that's, ARPA funds. Are you
Yes.
putting it into ARPA, because now it just says credit card?
Oh, yeah, it's, yes, definitely
Yes.
ARPA, and that was
established last month, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just didn't see
Yeah.
it on the, here, that's why.
Yeah, it will come
Yeah.
out of ARPA, but, yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Audit is accepted as stands. Miscellaneous, is there any miscellaneous discussion? Nope. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.